Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Professor Shishir Basu from the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. Today we are going to talk on module of representation of minority women under the paper titled Women, Media and Films. The main aim of this module is to understand the status of minority women in relation to the role being played by media. And since you have gone through the text already, but after going through this video recording or video program, you will be able to describe the current status of minority women and challenges they face in our society. Challenges can be of various types. It can be social, it can be economic, it could be educational, it could be political. Identify the role of media in empowering these women. What is the meaning of empowerment? I'm sure you must be knowing now, but we will talk about empowerment as seeing things differently, not the way, the traditional way of seeing it, like many women would be doing whatever their mothers would be telling them to do, like customs, like behaving in a certain way. But women would like to find out the meaning behind all this behavior or all that customs and rules. So empowering means, therefore, to see things differently, not the traditional way. And then you should be able to also underline the role of media in enlightening the readers on how to exercise their right to protect the right of the minority women. Then we should be able to talk about the analysis of the areas of application and pinpoint the advantages as well as pitfalls governing the use of media for empowerment. We should be able to examine the impact of media on minority women and comment on the role of the Indian media in uplifting the minority women. Now, uplifting of minority women means helping the women to be aware about their right, to be aware about what they can do and cannot do, what is legal and what is non-legal. So means the media should be able to make people aware, and in this case the minority women. And the last one that we are going to talk is to indicate the future prospects of minority women with media. In the previous unit, we have discussion about the theories of representation, various concepts of representation, and how they can fight against the negative aspects of representation in various media. Like we were talking about the stereotyping. Stereotyping is always negative, and it creates, a negative image, a negative feeling in the minds of the people who are portrayed as stereotyped. Now it is time to concentrate on the representation of women from minority sections in media. As you know, that women constitute 50% of the world's population, but they are not represented properly in different walks of life in society. There is a need to ensure women, specifically minority women, participate in development process in the country. According to Oxford Dictionary, minority is a small group in a community or a nation differing from others in the role of religion and language. In another way, we can say that the minority is an ethnic, religious and linguistic group, fewer in number than the rest of the population, whose members share a common identity. While there is a substantial body of law pertaining to minorities, different societies have different understanding of the term minority. The minority of any community or any country makes the country more vivid and more diverse in nature. Therefore, protection of their rights and culture is very important. In reality, we observe that the status of minority women is not good. In spite of several attempts to redeem their status, the mindset of the minority, both male and female, have not yet changed. In the era of globalization, technology is changing fast, and technology changes have made the whole world a global village. In this global village, concerns about minority women are quite visible. Definition of minority. Minorities are disadvantaged ethnic, national, religious, linguistic, or cultural groups who are smaller in number than the rest of the population and who may wish to maintain and develop their identity. Our discussion in this program will be focused on women as a minority group. Role of media in the empowerment of minority women. Overall development of the minority woman means social development. Setting agenda for the society in general is to bring in political, social, and economic awareness among minority women. In providing platform for minority women to voice their concern. Now, the measures for better coverage of minority women in media. That means what should television do, what should radio do, what should the newspaper be doing to uplift the status of the minority women in our country. Media can address always, and it should, socio-economic challenges, issues of livelihood, social justice, and freedom through proper coverage of minority women. You can read the newspapers every day and just for yourself check whether there are enough news items governing the status of the women or their issues or their problems. All that we see around us is you will find male-dominated news items, political news items, not the issues that 50% of our society are faced with. Then minority women's participation is also questioned. They are not given that kind of importance in the decision-making process of media, and this should be promoted by media. Say, for instance, women are taking care of the children at home, they go out and work, they help in the society, they help the elderly, but these things are not focused by the media. And particularly minority women suffer because they are minority, they are other of the others. Then there is a need for active participation of minority women in media. You can check yourself, just enter into any media houses, either of newspaper or television, and you will just find out how many women are working there. And you yourself can then check among the women who are working in those organizations, how many belong to the minority community. And you yourself will find out that they are rarely represented. The media person should be trained so that they can deal effectively with the issues related to women. Now, many of us, we do not see the issues, particularly the male members, do not see the issues related to women. Now, and also the minority women, because we are not trained to see. We are not trained to see where injustices are happening with the women in our society. Tribal women. Tribal account for nearly 8.2%, that is 84.3 million of the total population in India. They make India the second largest concentration of tribal communities in the world. This is as per the census of 2001. The prominent tribal areas constitute about 15% of the total geographical areas of the country and correspond largely to underdeveloped areas of the country. There are 533 tribes as per notified schedule under Article 342 of the Constitution of India. Conditions of tribal women: lack of political will, they have bad primary infrastructural facilities and existence of poor social security condition. They are involved in conflict in a constant and acute manner between tribal women and non-tribals. Illiteracy is prevalent among the tribal women. Migration from one place to another is a regular phenomenon. Most of them are unaware of their rights. Low media penetration is found among the tribal areas, and existence of adverse living conditions. Issues related to rural women versus urban women. You know, the people who are living in cities or in urban setup, they are in an advantageous position because they get many facilities which the rural women would not be getting. You know, say for instance, educational institutions, health centers, hospitals, you know, experts who are available in urban centers but not in rural centers. Say for instance, health issues, a rural woman will have to walk miles, many kilometers to reach a doctor or a nurse, or even, you know, a shop where medicines are sold. Whereas in urban setup, it doesn't happen that way. Things are available easily and experts are there always to help. Then women in rural India is more in number, and therefore if we see the development of a society, the rural women would constitute non-developed group than the urban women, you know? But their status and representation is not there at all. All that we see around would be the representation of the urban women and not the rural women. So that is another issue. Then commercial media or the mainstream media like television and newspapers and radio, they promote urban women. They will not be promoting the rural women because probably they think in terms of their market, they think in terms of advertising process or advertisements, and also they will say, oh, they are illiterate and urban women are literate, smart, and therefore they are aware about their rights, so they can also fight for their rights, whereas the rural women are not aware of in many cases, not that they are completely ignorant about it, but in many cases they do not know how to do things and how to progress. And in comparison, urban women are more independent and lead a comfortable life, whereas the rural women are not so independent. So they have to depend on many things within their family and within their surrounding. Media and rural women. Media can play significant roles to empower the women. Direct involvement of rural women in programming and management of media can be one. Effective collaboration of media with community is another one. Organizing and strengthening of rural women through community media like Khabar Lahariya, community newspapers, etc. Creating sensitization and advocacy among them. Organizing rural women into different groups and creating awareness among rural women. Future of rural women and media. A shift from development of rural women to empowerment of rural women will have to happen. Women empowerment means the idea that giving women the power over their economic, social, and political choices. This will raise their status, and media can really play a constructive role in this regard. Religious and ethnic minority. Ethnic minorities are groups living in multi-ethnic states, groups that are excluded and discriminated against. On the other side, ethnic majorities are those groups which dominate in a system. Religious minority, groups who have a religion other than the dominant faith. Now let us talk about the religious and ethnic minority women. Religious and ethnic minority women are greatly underrepresented in media. Now, why they are underrepresented? Because probably in media organization, nobody thinks about this religious and ethnic minority separately. Say for instance, I don't think the mainstream media would ever think of representing a tribal woman. And all the serials that we see around, is there any serial that would depict the stories of the tribals? And if you do that one, they would be in passing. It is not focused on their cultural life, on their ethnic life, on how they live their life. In religious group also, we see in our serials or representations in the mainstream religious festivities. So you don't see the women in those areas, and particularly the communities that come from minority community. Say for instance, Islam or Christian or Sikh women are not really represented. There are few women from this group who are in top positions in media. You can go out and see how many women are working in media organization. You collect them, you take a total and find out the percentage of the minority women who are working there. Rarely programs, as I have said, programs are aimed at ethnicity or about the minority women. You won't find them. There is no serial, as I remember, on the tribals or on the minority women or minority community for that matter. These minority women group face a lot of problem during any conflict. This we have talked about. If there is an ethnic conflict, if there is a riot that is going on, if there is a fire that occurs in a place, you will find that people coming from minority group will be least taken care of. They are almost as if non-existent. And during disaster also, during famine, during war, minority women suffer most. Like say for instance from the history you can see recent history, like the conflict in Syria, conflict in Iraq and in other places, you will see the children and women belonging to minority community will be suffering most. And this have been in many cases, particularly in the United Nations reportage, you will find that these things are being emphasized. Precautions regarding covering of the news related to religious and ethnic minority women. One needs to conduct detailed research about the minority. Factual reporting is needed. One has to be very sensitive in reporting news stories. One has to avoid derogatory word and remark, avoid stereotype depiction of minority, and include investigative and follow-up stories. Girl child in India. India is having reduced number of girls in 0 to 6 age group. For every 1000 boys, it is 927 girls. 46% children from ST groups, that is scheduled tribes, and 38% from scheduled caste, that is SC group, are out of school. High school dropout, especially among girls, is prevalent among the girls. High rate of child marriages, like 37% of literate and 51% of illiterate girls are married below 18, 10% of literate and 15% of illiterate boys are married below the age of 18. Large number of child are in labor group. Let us discuss the problems related to the girl child. There is always in the newspaper we find that a girl is missing, a minor girl. So missing or runaway girls, the news are always there. The girl children are always working on the street. They are very vulnerable and they face the risk of molestation and sexual abuse. It is always there. And existence of torture and exploitation of various types, torture of various types is as if it is written on their fate. And children indulging in substance abuse means they are taking to drugs or things that would be making them intoxicate. Girl child is severely affected in natural calamities, emergencies, and man-made disasters. So they are always at the receiving end. In urban centers, you will find girl child as always beggar. They will be approaching you for some food or some money. And then lack of toilets for the girls everywhere in public places. Nowadays, of course, because of the campaign about the sanitation, we are having now more toilets. But just think of 4 or 5 years back, we had very few toilets for girls and for women. Sikh, Christian and Parsi minority women. Sikhs constitute 1.9% of Indian population. Rajkumari Amrit Kaur was a prominent minority woman who joined nationalist politics and Quit India movement under Mahatma Gandhi's inspiration. Some other outstanding women, freedom fighters of the Sikh are Gulab Kaur, Kishan Kaur, Amar Kaur, Harnam Kaur, Dilip Kaur and Kartar Kaur. They are from Punjab. In India, Christians constitute a minority community forming only 2.34%. Pandita Ramabai, who lived from 1858 to 1922, was a prominent Christian woman of modern India. She was the champion of women's rights and a pioneer in the field of women's education. Mother Teresa is a symbol of untiring commitment to the poor and suffering. Mary Varghese is one of the finest leprosy surgeons in India. Christian women are contributing to the society in many ways. Parsi or Zoroastrians constitute 0.007% of Indian population. The Parsis are an immigrant community possibly coming from Faras, that is Persia. They are now mostly located in Mumbai. They are distinguished by their adherence to the Zoroastrian faith. The education of girls and women was a barometer of the overall standard of the community life that Parsis increasingly wanted. Parsis women are one of the most developed communities among all the minority women. They are well educated, self-reliant, and enjoy equal status in their society. Let us discuss the role of media in improving the condition for girl child. The media can restrict child marriage by making the citizens aware about various social and health problems for giving the children to marriage at an early age, which is not approved by the law of the country. The other thing that the media can do is in the campaigns of health and related issues, particularly for women, they can take a kind of program to campaign the health issues which are related to women. The other role that they can play is in improving of the living conditions by giving various tips to the women, how to keep their surrounding clean, how to keep their houses, their clothes clean, how they should practice also the cleanliness. These are the tips that the media can impart to these women. Media can also restrict violence against girls, both physical as well as mental. Violence is prevalent in our country, in our families, in our societies. So therefore, media can come forward, make different programs, can do campaigning against the violence against women. Media can also change the outlook of the society by highlighting various such programs which are launched for the same purposes. Highlighting programs that would improve the condition of the women, they can do that one, and it should be a deliberate attempt. In increasing the ratio of girl child to that of the male child, as it happens naturally, we know that naturally, by nature, there should be more girls than the boys in a community. And nowadays we find that there are less number of girls per 1000 boys. This ratio has to be set right, and media can play a big role. Now, what are the alternatives that are available for minority women? Let us discuss from the slides that you have in front of you. Let us start from the left-hand side. UNICEF is an United Nations organization. It can play a big role. It has been playing a big role since its establishment in 1945 for children and for women. It still can be strengthened, and other groups can join UNICEF to bring about a change and improve the situation of the minority women in any society. There are NGOs that are exclusively working for women, and these NGOs can come together in a platform and work for women and strengthen their campaign and their resolve. The other could be nowadays social media is quite prevalent. It is penetrating the society at a great speed, and then social media should be used for these purposes to depict the conditions of the minority women, like we have discussed about the violence, and there are violence taking place against the minority women, and social media should create a noise campaign against these atrocities. Nowadays we are talking about community radio, but we can also broaden that and include community media, like newspaper can come in instead of in addition to radio, we can have television, we can have other groups. So community media can help the minority women in a big way. The other alternative that could be available for the upliftment of the minority women would be the women feature services. These we must write the stories and spread it around about the atrocities that are taking place, about the exploitation of the minority women that are taking place in the society. And the last one, the alternative that is available, is the Minority Commission. That is a commission that is established by the rule of law by the country, and it is supported by all the pillars of the executives in this country. So Minority Commission should work more, and people who are being exploited, particularly the women, they should go to the Minority Commission and present their case or their side. Now, in this slide, let us discuss about the common problems of the minority women. Again, see on your left hand side, my left hand side, and your left hand side, is that more work and less pay. we know that women are exploited. They always work, but they get less paid. So there should be a parity in the payment. So if you are working equal amount of time and the workload, then you should be paid the same amount, not more, not less. The second thing is that soft target during conflict. Whenever there is a conflict, whether it is ethnic or linguistic, the women are the soft target. So people will go, there is violations of women body is taking place whenever. So that is to be stopped, and there should be a kind of a campaign that should be done to see to it that during conflict the women, and particularly the minority women, are protected. Whenever we have, the third point is anything that is happening for development, the one that is ignored is the women group, and particularly those who belong to the minority group. So they are marginalized. In our society, women are in general marginalized, but minority women are more marginalized. So therefore, whenever we are taking any development program, we need to see to it that it reaches to the least and the weakest in the society. Because of various reasons, and most of the time it is climatic reasons, people migrate because there will be no water, so cultivation cannot be done, agriculture is suffering, and women, they migrate with their families, with their male family members, and all the time you will see the women would have less and less facilities available to them. Is the male child, is the male member who would get first the food, the water, the clothing, the comfort. So during migration, they are to be protected and given their due. And the last point that we have, the minority women facing is the less representation in media. And you can see that we see, various minority groups such as tribals and religious communities. They are not in the mainstream media, and moreover, even if the minorities are projected, the women in that community will be represented less. So therefore, we need to see that women are also getting equal space and time in. In this presentation, we have focused on the status of women as a minority group. The status of women in India in general is not good, and the condition of tribal women is particularly bad and is very depressing. We have also discussed the status of women as a minority group among the religious communities. We have seen that the women from religious minority groups have also contributed in health, social service, and in politics. Prominent among the minority women are Rajkumari Amrit Kaur and Mother Teresa. Women in general are not represented adequately in the mainstream media that we have discussed and found out. Women are also not employed in mainstream media or cannot work in media for various reasons that we have discussed. Thus, many of them present their issues in alternative media like new media, social media, community media, and these have emerged as the platforms for the minority groups such as women. In India, the ratio between male and female child is not balanced and not natural. That means that the female fetus and infants are being eliminated by cruel means. The media and women in particular must be aware of this as they become accomplices in killing their own kind. I hope that this unit or this module has helped you to understand the issues related to minority women. I hope you will do more studies in this and find out more research studies and enhance your knowledge. Thank you for being with us.